Okay, May 15th, 2020. I'm not uploading this right now. I don't think so. But do you see that? Do you see what it says? Is coronavirus increasing organ harvesting in China? Spain, China cooperate on organ transplants. Okay? Look, nobody should not be surprised. Don't be surprised, people. That's where the money's at. The lady who introduced this topic on this news channel calls it the organ transplant industry, because that's what it's come down to now, an industry, right? If they're not going to get them through fentanyl, they're going to get them through snuff films. If they're not going to get them through snuff films, you know, do you think the coronavirus is going to stop them from getting transplants? Raises new suspicions of organ harvesting. What did I tell you about BC? We got a lot of fucking gangsters out here from China, people.
Harvesting. China's organ transplant industry has long been controversial for its extraordinarily short waiting periods. In the US,
and of course, no government, no Canadian government, no American government, no government holds China to account. So China has put their tentacles out into Canada. I'm sure it's happening in the United States, where people like ShaMay, people like Ciera, and a whole lot of other people are having their organs harvested illegally because there's a black market for it, because it's being facilitated through the public union sector, people. They need the hospitals in order to take out the organs.
Although 150 million people have registered as donors, they might have to wait for years to get a transplant. Authorities in China say there are 1.9 million registered donors. The waiting time can be as little as 2 weeks. In 2018, a BBC reporter raised a question to the head of China's National Organ Transplant Committee.
Well, how come I rang up?
How come I rang up and was offered a liver very quickly from a hospital in China? How is that possible? Because murder is condoned by our public officials, cops, coroners' offices, hospitals, anybody where that trickle down of financing in terms of laundering money can benefit, right? Stay quiet. They allow it to happen.
Offered a liver very quickly from a hospital in China. How is that possible?
I don't want to listen and answer.
I don't want to listen. I don't want to answer the question. Someone with political agendas.
To the question, somebody with some political agendas.
Last year, an independent People's Tribunal in London found that the Chinese regime has been and continues to be harvesting organs from
has been, and this was last year in 2019, people. ShaMay died in 2018. Ciera just died. Okay. We can't fact check how our loved ones' bodies are being treated after death. Never mind fact checking how they died, because how they're dying, we're not necessarily being told the truth. Because if they would have pronounced ShaMay's death as a murder, there would have been a whole different outcome around what's been going on with her body, still to this day.
Prisoners of conscience.
We, the tribunal members, are all certain, unanimously and sure beyond reasonable doubt.
They're sure and they're certain in 2019
that in China, forced organ harvesting from prisoners of conscience has been practiced for a substantial period of time, involving a very substantial number of victims.
Yet over the years, China has been getting international help for its organ transplant system. One notable example is Spain. According to a 2008...
Okay, so I'm going to add this link to this video. And I really should just upload it now. But I'm tired. And it's like beating your head up against the wall. I suppose it depends on how long I decide to sit here and talk. Because I don't know what it's going to take for people to wake up and realize that this shit's happening in Canada. You know, in regards to the actual people that actually live out here. And especially for those that can make a difference and fucking start holding criminals, real criminals, to account. But as it is, nobody's fighting people because it hasn't knocked on their doorstep yet. They're still drinking from that well, right? You know, there's still a lot of ShaMays and Cieras out there to target, especially under this purge. That's why I want to go out in the streets and I want to ask how many people have been disappearing, how many people have been dying, you know, how many people have just mysteriously disappeared and nobody knows where they are. Because you can almost guarantee people are disappearing, having their organs harvested, and bodies are just being destroyed. Destroy the evidence. Especially if they're homeless and they don't have a family. It's like that John Doe said in his little fucking conversation with me. You know, I'm pretty sure I heard him say it. I have a sneaky feeling maybe that video somehow has been edited because he mentioned something about the cops asking why he called me. Why you call her? Well, because she's the mom. Why wouldn't the cops want me to come there, people? I'm her mother. They should have been the ones to call me, right? But you see, that wasn't the agenda. The agenda was to hide her body behind a door frame. For all I know, and I stand my ground, for all I know, she could have been alive. And they were just psychologically, mentally torturing her in her last moments of life, listening to her brother, sister, and mother standing on the porch. But she couldn't cry out because they made sure she couldn't cry out. Because they're not only harvesting the organs, but they're harvesting the fear. And with this lockdown, you know, millions of people are in direct fear. They're in the line of direct fear. They're watching their lives fall apart in front of them. And many of them have worked years and 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 sacrificed many, many hours, thousands and tens of thousands, some people hundreds of thousands of dollars on their businesses, and they're watching it all go out the door. Okay? Now I know all I did was found a nonprofit, and it's not as grand, I guess you could say, as a business, but I know what it's like to have a government fucking like a leech suck the life out of you. You invest tens of thousands, I've invested tens of thousands of dollars into a nonprofit to go talk to politicians, to have those same very fucking politicians turn me away, tell me to go home, to dot my I's, to cross my T's, and to add in just a little more information, you know, get into more detail so that, you know, they can then come back, give it to them, you know, because, yeah, it's a really good idea what you're trying to do. Yes, we support what you're trying to do. But at the end of the day, people, they don't care if you spend $500,000 on a legitimate business or a legitimate nonprofit, because at the end of the day, they don't really give a shit whether you lose it or not. Because as far as they're concerned, you're just stimulating the economy that helps to pay their fucking paycheck and their pension plans. So if you flop on your face, so, you know, there's no kindness to the world, right? There's risks to the world. Doesn't matter if it's a business or a nonprofit. I've already lost my tens of thousands. I'm talking tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 fucking $1,000 on a pipe dream. on a Canadian fucking pipe dream that some group of politicians fed me along the way to make me think that there was real opportunity in this country. So it doesn't affect me like it's affecting the ones today who are now losing everything, because I've already lost it, people. Okay? And because I've already lost it, I've already lived the lie. I've already been put into that little box of manufactured poverty, right? The ones that are going into that box who haven't been there yet are going to have a fucking rude awakening. And 1 out of 1 million right now, I'm telling you, at the rate that we're going, it will be 100 million, if not more. 100,000, if not more, in that million that are gonna be fucking crashing hard. And the government won't do shit about it. That's when they'll start going into those houses and pulling kids out for this reason, for this reason, for that reason, for every fucking reason under the sun, so they can take those children and then put them into foster care with their friends, and then take whatever tax dollars are left to prop up that industry more than what is already being done to injure families. They're going to come in one day to somebody's house along the way, if they keep on this path, and they're going to take children out of the house because the child has sniffles. The child tested positive for COVID. That child will leave. That child will die. And those parents won't be allowed to see that child, just like what they're doing right now with the old people. They will harvest the organs of that child, whether it's for pet food, science experiments, growing new meat. How do we know they're not taking these livers and repopulating a fucking food source with the cells that come from the one liver? We don't know what they're doing with them. We just know that they're taking them. Okay? And the parents won't be able to fight back. They won't be able to fight back, people. Because the government workers, the union workers, will criminalize the families, as they're already doing. They are arresting women in the United States for taking their child to a park. They are arresting women on freaking subways for whatever fucking reason. Oh, they're not wearing a mask, when in fact they are. They're taking children and ripping children out of arms of parents. Energy weapons are real, people. They're bringing in 5G, right? Is it 5G? 5G, right? You know, that highly radiated Wi-Fi? Okay, and if you know anything about being radiated, when Fukushima blew its stack and the rains came in April, and I got caught in the rains, but everybody came in with radiation. Some people had rashes in the house, dry skin. Everybody was sleepy. Everybody got diarrhea. Everybody didn't want to eat, right? Joan had red patches all over her. ShaMay, everybody's lips got dry. Nobody wanted to eat for over a week. Everybody just wanted to sleep. Okay? Some of it got it worse than others because of radiation that came in on the rain from Fukushima radiation. It's real. Radiation poisoning is real, especially when it's in low doses, ongoing, because it accumulates. It accumulates into your DNA, into your system, period. What do you think this 5G is going to be doing to people? Apparently, it cooks the blood. It takes out the oxygen, right? People have been talking about it for well over a year now, but you don't hear not one peep about it coming in from our government as they're telling people to stay inside. Don't go out. If you do, the cops are coming after you. They're going to grab your kids out of your arms. They're going to arrest you, take your children to CPS, who you'll maybe never see again, because suddenly the child comes down with coronavirus and then dies. But don't worry, we're not going to harvest their organs. Oh, no, because they're contaminated, like ShaMay's body was contaminated with cocaine, right? And they're going to do what they want, however they fucking want. Do you know that they skin dead bodies, or people who are, they skin. Oh, where did I see this? Just yesterday or the day before. They have a new technique, it's done by the Chinese, that if they get a burn victim that has like more than 80% of their body, or whatever the hell, 60% of their body is burned, they take skin, preferably it has to be a live person, not a dead person. They can't take it from the cadavers. Oh yes, it was one of those China organ harvesting videos that I've been putting links to in my last couple of videos. But some Chinese doctor has taken a Falun Gong practitioner and literally skinned them alive, and then taken that whole body skin from head to toe and put it on somebody else's body that's been burned, and apparently that saves the other person's life. But before the other person's life can be saved, the other one has to be skinned alive. These are the kind of people we are dealing with. Right across the board, okay? Don't underestimate the dark side of what is going on. And I think that's what's happening here. I think a lot of people are underestimating the dark side, and they don't want to think that they're going to be sitting in their houses one day and they're going to get a knock on their door. It could be anybody coming in and being plucked out. It could be an Uncle John and you'll never see him again. It could be an Andre and you'll never see them again. And if you do, you get back a damaged child. That takes years and years and years. And even then, because the cycle is, the system's already in place, they're not satisfied. They go for more people, and they'll take another one and another one. Now you multiply that one family with 100,000 families plus, and see what's going to happen to our society as we have it documented that they are now capitalizing off of the coronavirus as people are supposedly dying from that. Because I guess they don't have a real problem in China with fentanyl like Chinese has brought to my country in terms of fentanyl. But you see, the government likes that though. Because if somebody dies from fentanyl out here, they don't have to take any responsibility for it because they're quick to blame the addict and, you know, again, rubber stamp it suicide or an accident. Which makes them kind of pointless in terms of a government because they're, you know, same thing with these fucking city people. If they're so interested in cleaning up the fucking streets, why don't they go after the fucking fentanyl that's killing people? But no, they won't do that. No, they're going to blame the cops, and the cops won't do it because the cops are going to blame the government, and the government ain't going to do it because they're blaming the so-called addict, right? Everybody's an addict, right? Nobody gets murdered, right? You know, but let's harvest all these organs because it's just money in the bank. So here, I'll provide the link. It says, this is what China's official data, 20,000 organ transplants in 2018, but a tribunal put that number at 60,000 to 90,000 a year. So China is lying, people, and China is not the only one who is lying. Okay? Okay, so this little thing I'm going to play next is going to talk about the main source of where China gets its organs. In Canada, ShaMay's Ciera's, right? Anyone that's getting murdered with fentanyl directly as the cops cover it up, or addicts who are in suicide mode or accident mode, right? Just because they're addicts and the drug supply has been infected with fentanyl, which nobody wants to take any responsibility for other than to blame China, even though the government makes deal after deal after deal after deal after fucking deal after fucking deal after deal after deal after fucking deal after fucking deal after deal after deal after deal with Chinese gangsters. Okay, go back into the BC Liberals and do some research. None of that's gone away. We've got a building boom. It's pretty fucking obvious, right, that China has still got its foot deep into Canadian soil as the Canadian people die one by one. And now with millions of Canadians, tens of millions, okay, going bankrupt and, you know, basically being forced into dire poverty one way or another, right, that just opens up what's coming next. Listen.
Source of these organs are practitioners of the persecuted spiritual group Falun Gong. It also says China's Muslim minority, up to 1.5 million of whom are now kept in concentration camps, are at risk of becoming the next organ bank.
Organ bank. That's what Canadians are below a certain income level to the ones that harvest us because they see us as a well that they can just go to and drink anytime that they want because they think they own the people. Basically, as our politicians continue to sell out the public.
In a 2017 interview by state media, the head of China's National Organ Donation and Transplant Committee spoke frankly about China's ambition to lead the world in organ transplants.
In just a few years.
So now it becomes a competition to see who can do the best organ transplant and who can do the most at the most cost-effective, right, in terms of, well, you need a liver? Well, it will cost you $120,000 and we can get it for you in 2 weeks. No prob.
China will become the #1 organ transplant country in the world.
And China is ready to export that model to other countries. Last December, China held an international...
And you know what? British Columbia has already fell into line with it, people. Okay? Because they're going on about how 25% more organ donations are coming in through the fentanyl deaths. Right? But that's not a crisis because those organs on the books are going for organ donation. But that's just what's on the surface. That's like that 20,000 that they officially reported. But when you dug deep and got to the truth of the matter, there was 60,000 to 90,000 organ transplants done a year. But the government's only reporting 20,000. Well, it's the same thing out here, people, because China and people like those kind of people, whether they come from the United Emirates or Israel or wherever they fucking come from, has brought that here to Canada. And because we have been conditioned to think that, you know, our public union sector is so ethically moral, God forbid they would never do anything like that because this is Canada. But it's happening. It's happening. And when you speak out about it, what happens, people? You get gang stalked over fucking grass and weeds. And it won't stop. It won't stop. The day it will stop is the day I'm dead. That's when it's going to fucking stop. Okay, because we're not dealing with normal people here. I don't even know what this is anymore. This is beyond being fucking normal people. Like, I don't think some of these people are real people. I really don't. They've either been injected with something that's like changed their physiological DNA, or they've been implanted with something where they're receiving transmitter fucking directions and it controls their behavior. like MK Ultra, you know, mind control techniques, those types of things. Because this stuff is real, and we can't keep blaming China, because it's here in the United States, right? Those awake know it. Those who've suffered the consequences of other people's greed and selfishness and prejudices and bigotries and races and all this other shit, they know it. I know it. Other people in Canada, there's a few of us out here that know it, but there's not enough of us fighting back. Not enough of us fighting back, people. And now with what the government's doing, it's just going to get worse. It's just going to get worse. There's a reason why they're not letting you see your old loved one sitting up in an old cares home, because they don't want people to witness how they're being treated. They don't want people to witness how they're dying. They don't want people to get fact checks to see if that's really what they died from, people. Right? They are committing heinous crimes. It's right there in your face, okay? This news article is true. It's in your face. It's here. It's in the Western world.